if I'm waiting for a sign from God, or if I'm waiting to become certified or licensed or to gather enough experience to believe I'm worthwhile to be listened to, that means that I'm also without. That means that I'm telling the universe that I'm lacking. And here's the thing, Jeremy, what we broadcast is what we become.
Yeah.
So for that reason, and you know me well enough, I measure my words, I watch what I say, what I write and what I think matters to me a lot. You're only going to hear me say profound things, deep things, measured things, things of value. You're rarely going to hear me speak in pessimistic manner. And if I am, it's only because I'm solving for the solution for that particular problem.
So here's the big question. How do everyday people like us who didn't grow up wealthy and were not taught how to be wealthy in school, how are we supposed to learn to think, invest, and grow wealth like the top 1% without compromising our ethics and our values? My name is Jeremy Whaley. That was my big question. This podcast will give you the answers. You're listening to Think Rich Radio. And welcome to another episode of Think Rich Radio. I'm your host, Jeremy Whaley, with my co-host, Nelson Bran. Nelson, how are you today?
Fantastic, my friend. How are you? Excited about today's podcast?
I am super excited about this. This topic that we've decided we're going to talk about came up in a Telegram group that we're both part of. And it's a little esoteric, but I think this might be the key for a lot of people in helping bring things to fruition. And the concept is what I'm calling, now I just forgot the term, collective manifestation. Collective manifestation. That's the term that I was using. You want to tee it off, or you want me to tee it off?
I'm going to tee it off, brother.
Go for it.
I don't remember where I read this, and you could tell me after. Act as if. Act as if. What that encompasses is the following. Before anything manifests out here, it has to exist in our heart and in our heads as an idea. I'll give you an example. I'm about to walk onto a stage, and there are thousands of people. And I normally would not have been a presenter in front of a crowd that large. But in my mind's eye, I act as if I've got the experience, I've got the knowledge, I've got something of interest to tell, and I've got something of value to give to those people. And if that's all I tell myself, I'll get up on that stage and I'm going to kill it. If, on the other hand, I wait for a sign from God to tell me when I'm ready to do that, it'll never come. So act as if means this. The moment I've decided something up here and I manifest it out here, the world has no choice but to acquiesce to how I behave, how I act. Even if I'm uncomfortable, even if I'm insecure, Jeremy. Insecurity is not an excuse to not coming out and doing podcasts all the time, doing presentations, putting together companies, doing a startup, participating in different projects. All those things you might say to me, well, Nelson, those are scary things to do. What if you lose it all? What if it doesn't work? What if you fail? I'm busy acting as if.
Yeah.
Therefore, I can't fail.
Yeah, so we act as if the end goal has already happened. And what happens is when we do that, what we're literally doing is you've heard people say jumping timelines. You're literally jumping into the future and you're pulling into the present moment a new version of yourself. So if somebody says, hey, I want to be, I want to be a pilot one day. Well, what would a pilot do? And what most people do is they wait until they have achieved. They wait until they have everything already solved, and then they say, okay, now I've arrived. The problem is we stay in a perpetual state of I haven't arrived yet. We're waiting to arrive. Whereas the whole idea of acting as if, which, by the way, I think you're quoting Neville Goddard, but acting as if we're saying I'm entering into this state now. Now let's take this from the ethereal into a very tangible situation. I want to be wealthy. I want to be wealthy beyond measure, and I want to be an investor. So I talk to people and say, one day I'm going to be an investor. Well, when does one day come? And the answer is they die on the road to one day because they're lost in the middle trying to figure their way out. Whereas the successful investor says, I am an investor now. You may not have a lot to show for it yet, but I am an investor now. Right now, I am an investor. And what happens immediately? The books they read change. The podcast they listen to changes. The people in their network changes. Why? Because you are acting as if now. I just made some decisions this weekend. I told you I was on a trip with my son. And I was thinking about some stuff that I want to do. I had really good opportunity to sit down by myself and do some good thinking time. And I came up with some things that I wanted to diversify into that I haven't been thinking about for a long time. And literally the entire 3-hour drive home, I was already putting myself mentally in that state. I was already putting myself in the as if. And in some of the cases, some of it was some real estate deals that I'm thinking about right now. And I was already putting myself in that scenario saying, I think I want to go into that space. I think I want to diversify in that area. It's a little different than the paper assets and the digital that I've done before. And, as I get some profits over here, I think I want to spread out, not just single family homes, but I want to get into all these other dynamics. And I was going there, and I probably spent 45 minutes in a different parallel universe on the drive home. He was listening to stuff on his headphones. I was in my own head. But guess what? I got home and I felt a DNA change. It's like, okay, I am that. I am already on that journey. And I think that's a good personal scenario or personal example of how acting as if begins. What do you say?
I love it because the acting as if precludes biology. So if I'm waiting for a sign from God, or if I'm waiting to become certified or licensed or to gather enough experience to believe I'm worthwhile to be listened to, that means that I'm also without. That means that I'm telling the universe that I'm lacking. And here's the thing, Jeremy, what we broadcast is what we become.
Yeah.
So for that reason, and you know me well enough, I measure my words, I watch what I say, what I write and what I think matters to me a lot. You're only going to hear me say profound things, deep things, measured things, things of value. You're rarely going to hear me speak in pessimistic manner. And if I am, it's only because I'm solving for the solution for that particular problem. Now, that's not to say, Jeremy, that I don't believe that things will happen. A lawsuit comes out of nowhere. A government official or an industry says you can't do that. It's against the law or the rules are broken. Things happen, Jeremy, on the way to building something real. But it doesn't mean I'll ever stop. It doesn't scare me from moving forward. And I know that when we're there, we'll solve it. We'll work through it. Because that's what grown men and adults do, right?
I think let me tee off of that and kind of branch this. We started this episode and we said we were going to talk about collective manifestation. And what you just said is a really good tee, bridging what we just talked about with where we said we wanted to land. The whole idea of manifestation is what you just talked about. I think we did another episode. I kind of forgot if we did it or not, but I think we did. The idea that we're going to live as if, we're going to think as if, we're going to speak it into existence. And when you cut off all other possibilities, cut off all possibilities of failure, cut off all possibilities of any other outcome other than success. It doesn't mean the pathway is guaranteed. It means the outcome is guaranteed. Or as you like to say, it's inevitable. It has to happen because it's the only possibility that I put into my field. So when we do that, what we're literally doing is we are, I don't want to say manipulating, we're commanding the matrix to the desire that we're putting out there. And the more people wake up and realize that you have the power to do that. And it's not just you've always had the power, it's actually in everybody's sacred text in the Bible. Let's go back to the Bible. Take every thought captive. Why? Because it's in your thoughts where the enemy comes in and tells you little lies that are not of your own and that are not from this 3D reality. They're out there from the ether, and it's the part of the ether that is working against you, because Earth is this duality between good and evil. So evil's going to come in and it's going to say, Nelson, you can't do that. Nelson, you're not designed like that. You didn't come from wealth. You can't do that. And if you're not careful, you agree with it. And then it goes back to that classic book, The Four Agreements. The first thing is be careful what you agree with, right? When you agree with the lie, it plants the seed. So the first thing is take every thought captive. And if it's not from you, if it's not the thought you want, literally reject it. Say, no, I won't do it. How do you counter that? Go right back to the sacred text. The truth will set you free. So you go on a truth rant. No, the truth is, it doesn't matter how I grew up. The truth is, I was designed to have anything and everything that I want. I was designed to have more than enough. If anybody can do it, I can do it. That's the truth. Yes. And you lock it in. And I'm speaking some biblical text here, but the truth is that every sacred text has given us the secret. Every one of them. And I can kind of go down the list. The idea of manifestation is not a new concept. It is a holy concept because it's the way that we were created to interact with this world. But we bought into a lie. And the lie is things are kind of predestined. They're already determined for you. It is what it is. We're going to go with it. And before you know it, on an individual scale, the world is happening to us instead of us happening to the world. And then we can take that up to the next fractal, which is the community. But I'm going to take a breath so you can react to everything I just said.
Hallelujah, first and foremost. You know what, Jeremy? As I look around me, and myself included, all of us want to be understood. A lot of times we want our suffering and or our hard work to be out there. It's something that we believe defines us. A lot of times we're solving for justice, for goodness, for fairness. And as I look around me, I don't see the universe caring about how hard I've worked on any particular project. I don't see the universe caring if I'm going to bring my shortcomings or sufferings to the table as an excuse for why I haven't done better, or as a precursor to why I'm not going to try harder. All I know is that the world out there, if I come out proud, strong, deserving, and owning it already, it's gonna acquiesce to everything that I act out. Everything. And even though I may not already possess the skills necessary to be doing some of the things that I'm doing, I'm acting as if, and within a short moment of time, I will master that industry. I'll master that project. Before a king becomes a king, he's already got the gaze of a leader. He's already got thousands that follow him no matter what. He's been a king in his mind long before it physically manifests. He was acting as if before. If there was a shadow of a doubt in his eye or in his walk or in his gaze or in his words or in his tone, the people would second guess him and they wouldn't follow him and he wouldn't become king.
Yeah.
So, and that's not to say life won't step in and give us our doubts, Jeremy. Life may come in and say, you're not deserving. That's not you. You don't come from that pedigree. You don't have enough experience in that. What are you doing? I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but in spite of those, we move forward, period.
You triggered two thoughts that I have to address, both of them. The first one I want to address, you triggered a memory of the movie The Matrix. And you remember Neo in The Matrix, he goes to see the Oracle. He's done all this buildup to go see the Oracle. And it's this lady, and she's got this waiting room, the kid bending the spoon, the famous scene of the spoon that's bending. And he goes in and he talks to her, and he says, so I'm not the one. And she looks and she goes, you're not the one. Because he was looking for external validation. It's the moment that we decide internally, I am an entrepreneur. I am an investor. I'm a father. I am a lover. I am fill in the blank. The two most powerful words in the English language. I am fill in the blank. Because once a person identifies as this new thing, you can't help but become it. It's not, I will one day I will be a singer. One day I will speak French. No, I am. I am this, and I become that, and I start acting as if, and we can't help it. Once Neo in the movie realized that it was inevitable, he was the one, his identity shifted. And once his identity shifted, the entire matrix fell apart and he had a complete control of everything. That's the first thing that you triggered. You want to say anything to that?
No, you're right. The it's interesting, Jeremy, how we're looking for external validation, not only for for our efforts, for our rewards, but also for our pain. We wear our pain. We'll tell someone, "Oh, I had a terrible separation from my partner of business, or from my wife, or from a friendship, or from whatever." We're looking for some kind of validation for the way life has come that we've lived through it, and yet none of that matters, Jeremy. If you don't believe it, then it doesn't matter what my opinion is or anyone around you. You're the only one that matters. I'm the only one that matters.
And that's the second part. That's exactly what you triggered for me. It was the second part of this is it doesn't matter. If we don't have the friction, we can't have the win. If we literally, the very thing people are trying to eliminate, things going wrong, friction, making it difficult. The very thing people are trying to eliminate is the only way that we can have the win. Imagine a football team that goes out and they line up on the 50-yard line and they step back and they throw the ball all the way to the 1-yard line and they score. But there's no defense to fight against. Nobody's going to cheer. If they're on there doing amazing happy dances in the end zone, people might even mock them and laugh at them because it's not exceptional. What's exceptional is when you've got a defensive line that's built with 400-pound big guys that are, 6-7 feet, and they eat more fried chicken on a Monday morning than you'll eat in the next 9 months. And, they create a wall and you have to work your way through it. And as a team, as a collective effort, you get them confused, you get them off balance, and you manage to move from the 50-yard line all the way into the end zone in one swift move while fighting massive resistance. That's when the stadium goes crazy and says, that's extraordinary. I'll pay hundreds of dollars to see it because that is amazing. Your life is a football game. Without the resistance, you can't win. So instead of fighting it, we have to embrace the resistance.
Jeremy, someone recently said to me, Nelson, life isn't fair. And I kind of nodded a little bit like that. And they said, do you agree or disagree? I said, I agree, but in a different way than you. I said, you see life as necessarily fighting against your better being. I said, I don't see that. I believe life wants to give me what I believe I deserve, wants to give me what I need and what I want, my deepest desires. That's what I believe. Where I believe it's difficult with the world is the world, if it smells in me hesitation, even a little bit, by the way that I walk and I talk and I sing and I laugh and I dance and I participate, it'll give me that exactly. If I walk and I'm leaking fear, if I speak and I'm leaking doubt, guess what it's going to do? It's going to smell that weakness in me and it will prey on me because that's how it works around here. If on the other hand, I know what I'm saying, I have conviction in what I have and who I am, and I believe profoundly and deeply and work towards it every single day, it'll literally prove to me what I believe every day. It'll manifest. It'll say, because you were this, you deserve this. And there is no other way. So how we behave matters. We have to be conscious of it all the time. Someone once said to me recently, Nelson, I'm changing my life. I'm more conscious about what I'm eating because, Nelson, I used to eat all this junk food. I was just on default. Whatever's around me, I'm stuffing it in my mouth. Now I'm measuring calories. Now I'm measuring ingredients. Now I'm seeing, is it real food or is it in a box or in a bag? So they're making conscious decisions. And now it's translated not just in how they eat, but how they think, what they say, what time they get up, what time they go to bed. And guess what? They raise their standards on all these multitude of things. What's the world around them doing? They're looking better, they're feeling better, they're healthier, and they have suddenly all these opportunities come their way that they did not have before.
Yep. All right. So I think we're still gonna talk about collective manifestation. Are we still doing that, or have we gone too far here?
No, no, we're actually speaking about this in a roundabout sort of way, my friend. We really
Well,
are.
what I've kind of been talking about here is the individual aspect of it, but here's where I want to take it to the collective. In our Telegram group that we're part of, what triggered this idea is there was a bunch of people that were talking about different projects, and unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, in the space of new technology, specifically blockchain and crypto, oftentimes people run into regulatory problems. And really what it is that the regulators are looking for someone's life to mess up because they don't have anything else to do with their life other than mess up other people's life. So they go hunting and they find things to mess up that weren't really messed up to begin with. Well, what happens in these groups is people, they get triggered by that and they say, oh, here we go again. Somebody's taking advantage of us, or this is happening over here, this is happening over there. And before you know it, the whole group is piling on with the negative narrative. And that's where I started to think about over the last few days, this idea of collectively we're manifesting. It's an individual thing, like what we've talked about up until this point of the podcast. We get the energy we put out, we get what we put out there. But as a society, we also do the same thing. So let me take this to, let's talk about the economy. And something you and I talk about. Oftentimes you'll say, hey, Jeremy, they're going to have to start printing money. Well, do they? Or is that something that as a society, we've gotten so comfortable saying because of where things are going, it's inevitable they're going to have to print money. And so as a society, we actually manifest it because we keep saying over and over, it's inevitable. They're going to have to print money. And then we're all like, yeah, they're going to have to print money. And then collectively, we kind of create this energy that as a society, we all agreed to. And then before you know it, yeah, crap, inflation's out of control. Crap, unemployment's out of control. All these things. How was it 9 months ago, the economists on TV knew in 9 months, we're going to have inflation and the economy was going to slow down? Did they really know? Because I know a lot of economists, and pretty much every economist is right about as often as a broken clock, right? But if they say the same thing over and over again, sure enough, in 9 months, right on cue, the economy falls apart. Just like the doctor who says you have 9 months to live, and sure enough, 8 months and 3 weeks later, you die. Because once that thought is out there, we manifest it.
So it's interesting you say that. We are speaking about a collective mind, about a collective. If we're going to have a herd mentality that the government or society wants us to be homogenized in the way that we see work and money and savings and investments through a traditional bank, through paper notes, et cetera, we already understand, Jeremy, that we're all susceptible to be mind manipulated as a group. We already get that. You're suggesting, well, Nelson, it takes an individual at a time. Let's build a community where we literally reinforce this positive mindset among us all. So using that same herd mentality, but on the positive side, if we know that we can be inculcated and hypnotized to believe most anything, why not believe in the positive? Why not believe in the good? And therefore manifest the good as a whole, right?
Exactly. And I'm the first to admit I have not taken this thought captive. This is a thought that's new to me. In the past, I have done my fair share of piling on the herd mentality and probably helped to bring some things to fruition that I didn't want to bring to fruition. But I'm confessing that, and I'm taking that thought captive, and I'm saying let's become a force for good. How much could we change the economy if we change the narrative? How much could we change everything if, as a society, we say, you know what, we're not going to agree with all the bad things? What if we actually, here's a story. I'm going off memory. I don't remember who did the study, but I can find it. Greg Braden cites it a lot. So somebody probably listening can put that right into our chat and they'll be like, oh, it was this study. But there was a study that was done, a scientific study, where a group of people got together and they decided that they were going to send unified, what's the word? when you get everything into coherence, when they decided they were going to get together and they were going to be in coherence around a specific energy. And so it was a small group of people, let's say 20 or 30 people, and they would get around a city and they would send a coherent emotion and an energy of love. And then they would send a coherent energy of agreement and all these different energies that they would send to the city. And what they saw in that town is the crime rate dropped like by 50 or 80% in a very, very short period of time. It was a really, really bad town. And I wish I'd prepared. I would have known the study and the stats, but you get the idea. And what I remember Greg Braden quoting on this is they figured out that it takes less than 1% of a society to be in agreement and coherent with a positive energy to affect that entire culture. So how can we be a force for good? How can we collectively manifest a better reality for society?
If we agree that the world is here only to reaffirm what we believe, then we have to impact what we believe. We have to focus on our beliefs. What do we believe, right, Jeremy? And so, again, that's something that we're working on at deltachainlabs.com, Delta Chain Labs Academy. Affirmations is not what I'm talking about, Jeremy. I'm talking about the world will literally confirm and reaffirm what we think we deserve, what we believe we are, and nothing more. If I believe, Jeremy, that I am whatever, I'm a teacher, but I've never done live presentations, or I'm a professor, but I've never traveled the globe to make presentations in public to foreign speakers, or I'm having to learn something overnight. You might say to me, Nelson, here's something we're going to pitch tomorrow, learn it tomorrow, we pitch it live. If I don't believe I can, I won't. I'll do it. I'll do a horrible job, and therefore it won't work on our behalf. But remember, like I said before, we have to act as if, because biology will follow. Once my voice and my posture are in a particular way, the world immediately bends to me. That's the way it works for all of us. In the book of John, in the Apocryphal, it goes into great detail about some of the things that Jesus was saying. And it's no surprise that that book specifically was kept out of the Bible. It's so thick. But it talks about over and over again how the kingdom of God is within us and how we need to turn inside to develop ourselves. And the more we do so, the better the world becomes outside. In a nutshell.
Well, I don't want to correct you, but the book of John is very much included in the New Testament.
No, sir. Do you know how big it is?
The book of John?
Yes. Its entire Bible's long. It's not, the book of John is very limited to what we have. They've given us this much, right? Constantine decided in 325 how much we're eligible for, at least for the Goy. The Goy is only eligible for this much. That's all we get.
I mean, going off memory, I want to say it's like 16 or 18 chapters, but I'm probably wrong on that. But you're saying that there's more to the book of John than what we've been given.
Oh, by definition. Yeah. And that's, you and I have talked about how we're bound, right? Not just by our words, but also to our access of information and knowledge. So in Nicaea, in 325, a group of men, including Constantine, decided what we are eligible for. And they condensed everything down to a particular amount and said, this is enough for them to figure it out. And I'm not saying the Bible isn't mighty the way that it is. I'm just suggesting that there are things that were kept out that would make the individual stronger, more self-sufficient, more autonomous, and ultimately sovereign.
There's definitely a lot of text that was cut out, for sure. Okay, so let's side note. We've all heard it said, I think we have. If you haven't heard it said, you're about to hear it said. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. And that's probably the best way we could summarize this whole conversation. What we believe is what happens. A few episodes ago, we talked about unconditional faith. Unconditional faith is acting as if. It's inevitable. It's as if it's already happened. I believe it. When you look at the heroes of the faith, they acted as if. And it's only from a state of 100% certainty that even in the face of what may seem absurd when you act with unconditional faith as if, and you believe it wholly, you literally change the matrix around you. You can't help it. It will change the matrix.
I call it taking a step in the dark without proof of environment at your perimeter.
Yeah.
Jeremy, we don't get what we want. We don't get what we desire. We don't even get what we need. We get what we are.
Mm.
We get who we are. We get what we believe. That's what we get. That's why so many times if I pray and I hope and I'm desirous, there's no way I'm going to get those things. It's impossible. That's not the way this place works. Call it Eden, call it Oz, call it a matrix, call it whatever you want to call it. It is here for us. We're the pure energy angelic being trapped in this corporeal body. But something that cannot be controlled about us is that divinity spark that we all have, this pure energy part of us, right?
Yeah.
And this consciousness that we live within, it morphs to us, to what our conscious believes, to what we think. And I can't stress this enough, Jeremy. We will never, ever, ever, ever get what we want, what we need, what we hope for, what we pray for. It's what we've become that we get.
So for our listeners who are listening, here is the steps. Number one, decide. Part of what I shared with you, I spent a good chunk of my weekend getting really clear, like what is it that I want to go towards? Who do I want to be? What do I want to become? And decide. Most people are drifting through life, letting other people decide their future. They don't even know it. They're like, oh yeah, I am this, but what version of that? Well, it's whatever the company said about me, or it's wherever, fill in the blank. Most people are letting people around them or institutions around them decide their fate. And unfortunately, I've seen their plans and they're not very good for you. That's the truth. So first of all, we have to decide what we want. And then, like you say, we become it, literally become it. Step into that person. If you want to be, fill in the blank, whatever it is you want to be, go dress like that person, go talk like that person, go become that person in your being, because we are what we think we are. And if you do that, you start to change the world around you. And if we collectively as a society say, this is who we want to be as a society, we want to be a happier society. We want to be a society without war. We want to be a society that is peaceful. We want to be a society that's completely on the blockchain with open regulation that makes it easy for us to do it. Maybe we just need to collectively manifest that more. We want the IRS to go away. Let's just all stop agreeing that the IRS is good and let's just manifest it away.
I'm not saying we couldn't manifest in that direction, Jeremy.
Let's start really right broad. Now. Let's manifest all night.
You know what, brother? I'm going to say this, folks. If you've stayed around with us along this far, just know that quit waiting for life to give you permission to be. Just be. We're not here to be beggars. We're not. I believe we are of God, all of us. I believe every one of us has something magical about us. And so I believe we're taught to be beggars for whatever reason. We're taught to be beggars through fear and doubt. And I do not believe that's what we are. I believe we're incredible. I believe we're magical. I believe we're dynamic. And I believe that we must believe that for the betterment of ourselves and society as a whole.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
I agree with that. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Check out what we're doing over at trademaestro.com. Check out what Nelson and his friends are doing over at deltachainlabs.com. Like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Like and subscribe. Follow us on YouTube. And we've got a whole bunch of other stuff coming together. We even have somebody that's going to help promote us very soon, Nelson. So we will be sharing that. And people will find us everywhere because I believe that Think Rich Radio is omnipresent. I see it. I know it. Everybody knows about Think Rich Radio. So thank you guys for listening. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.